Hi, everybody. We're going to give it a couple minutes to let everybody join us today. Hope everybody's doing all right. For those of you that have just joined, which I guess is everybody, can everybody hear me okay? Maybe a thumbs up. Let me know. Hi, Michael, John, everybody. Just want to make sure that everything is working as it should be. Great. Hi, Margot. Hi, Hot Bread Kitchen. I'm going to wave to you. This is the first time I've done an Instagram live that isn't my live, which is very exciting for me. I don't know if it's exciting for you, but so we'll give it just another minute or two, let some folks roll in. Feel free to use the comment section to engage with each other. There are a bunch of tools that you should be able to see here. You can ask a question. We do have a number of questions that were prepared beforehand, but you can ask a question here, and if we have the time to answer it, we certainly will. You can share this live with somebody else that you think might benefit from hearing the conversation today. And of course, we will be sharing this through our Instagram TV. So maybe we'll just give it one more second here, and then we'll have our friends join us. Okay, so we'll get started. So my name is Dana Koteen. I am on the events committee of the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation, and I volunteer on a number of levels. For those of you that aren't familiar with our organization, RWCF is an advocacy and action nonprofit that was created by and for restaurant workers. And this series is part of a weekly series called RWCF Talks. It's a new initiative to help restaurant workers get access to the information that they need, accessing funding and a space for thought leaders and subject matter experts to speak in a lot more detail than I think is available through resource pages and things like that. And we're hoping that this helps get answers to our community and to restaurant workers out there. So there's a link in the RWCF Instagram bio. So when this is done or at any time, you can use that link to apply for funding from our partners at Southern Smoke if you do need some financial assistance at this time. You can recommend other nonprofits that you think could benefit from the funding that is available through the RWCF fundraising. Which I should also say, you should also see here that this is a live fundraiser. So if you are in the position that you can donate, we appreciate your donations, and they get immediately used to provide benefit to our community. And there you can access the other events that we have through our website as well. So I think now let's go ahead and get started. I need to find this request, and we're going to bring in our friends kitchen, but it looks like there was a technical difficulty here. Hot Bread, if you are here, can you go ahead and maybe send another request, and I can accept it because I can't accept it now. So while we're waiting to have these technical difficulties ironed out, I figure I can share with you a little bit about what we're talking about today. So Hot Bread Kitchen is joining us, and we have a number of questions that have been asked through their hotline. They'll tell you more about those details. If you do have questions, though, that you would like to ask, again, feel free to use that. Where is it? That little button there. And we can, here we go. I don't know why this isn't working. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. So Michelle, if you're on, I can't add you. It just says unable to join, unfortunately. Which I don't know if that's a me thing or on your side. Let's do that again. Thank you, Cassandra. Here we go. And we did it, I think.
Hi.
Hey, we did it. Thanks for your patience. I don't know what happened there, but you're here now, and I think why don't you tell everybody who you are?
Great. So my name is Michelle Rojas. Nice to see everybody joining us. I am a licensed master social worker, and I work at Hotbread Kitchen, primarily supporting the women that have come through our training program and have entered the food industry with accessing any resources that they need to thrive. So whether it be accessing mental health supports, housing supports, accessing safe and secure childcare, really anything under the sun that will make their transition from being in our training program and entering the workforce for the first time as smooth as possible. I did want to start before we kind of dive deeper into your questions with a moment to acknowledge the current state of the country. At Hotbread Kitchen, we firmly stand in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and the fight for racial justice. We deeply recognize that the communities that we serve at Hotbread Kitchen are directly impacted by systemic racism and police brutality. And we remain strongly committed to supporting women, immigrants, and people of color in the food industry. This week at Hotbread Kitchen, we've really been making space for conversations and reflection and thinking of ways that we can reimagine our mission, as well as our programs through a lens of racial justice. The dual crises of racism as well as the COVID-19 pandemic are disproportionately devastating Black, Indigenous, people of color. So just wanted to let that out.
Thank you. I guess we can just get started on some questions. Let me say this. We obviously recognize that not all of these questions will be relevant to you, those of you that are in our audience and watching. We're going to start, I just want to tell you a little bit about what we're talking about. So we're going to start the conversation talking about some resources that are available to out of work restaurant workers. And then later we're going to focus specifically on unemployment. So if that is something that is really important to you, obviously please stick around. And we're going to be spending a bunch of time on unemployment. And the questions that we're talking about today come from the Hotbread Kitchen program members and some folks from the broader hospitality community and the hotline. Do you want to talk just real quick about the hotline and then we can start with the Q&A?
Yeah, why don't I start first by talking about what Hotbread Kitchen is? I'm sure some of you in the audience may not know who we are. We are a nonprofit social enterprise whose mission is to create economic opportunity through careers in food. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, Hotbread Kitchen has been providing relief to the food workers and small businesses who have been affected by COVID-19. And the hotline that you mentioned, Dana, we created a hotline that has been operating for several weeks now for food workers and really anybody that has questions regarding UI or PUA, unemployment insurance, or wants to learn more about what resources are out there to try and alleviate any needs that they have. They are able to call us, they can leave a voicemail, and we will get back to them as soon as possible to provide support. So that's kind of what we've been up to in the last few months.
Good work. That's great, thanks. So I guess let's jump right in and talk about some of the benefits that are available for food assistance, food stamps, or the SNAP program. So can you talk a little bit about the benefits that are available for people that might need them?
Yeah, absolutely. I will talk about 3 benefits, and then I'll talk about something that's called public charge. The first benefit that I think people should know about is called SNAP. And SNAP stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And it's also known as food stamps. So that's widely how people know about it. And it's an opportunity for, depending on your household size and on your income level, to actually receive a bi-weekly monetary amount to help you buy groceries. Often this money is received by something that's called an EBT card. So like think of a debit card that the government will fund every month with funding that you can use to go to groceries, buy whatever necessities you need. Because of COVID-19, they've actually expanded the places where you can use this funding to include places like Amazon, ShopRite, and Walmart. So it is a very, very helpful resource. We do have more information about SNAP and eligibility on our website, but you can apply for SNAP online through the HRA website, as well as through an app on your phone called Access HRA. The next benefit that I'll talk about is something called cash assistance, also known as temporary assistance to needy families. And it's similar to SNAP, really. It's not food specific. It is a certain amount of funding that you can use if you wanted to help pay your rent or help pay for other utilities or necessities that you may have. And it's also a similar application process. You can apply online and also through the Access HRA app. The third benefit I'll talk about is women, infants, and children. And this is for mothers with young children who need support accessing medical care, maybe accessing food for their children. It's a really amazing support, and there's different WIC locations throughout the country where you can go and get the supports that you need. I do want to preface all of this by mentioning something that's called public charge. So due to our administration, public charge is the way in which the country determines whether you will be a charge on taxpayer dollars. So because these are all government funds, depending on your immigration status, you may be deemed a public charge if you access these benefits like food stamps, SNAP, and even housing support. So under the Trump administration, they've actually expanded the amount of benefits that fall under public charge. And if you are an individual who is trying to obtain their green card, we strongly advise you, unfortunately, to try not to opt into these benefits because you may be found to be ineligible to obtaining your green card. However, if you do have your green card, you are more than able to access these benefits. These things are very complicated. It's a long process, and it's totally understandable to not be an expert on these things. We've actually created a pretty thorough guide, and it's on our website. And we are more than happy to answer any questions that you have, of course.
That's so helpful. And yeah, the landscape, I mean, it's just crazy trying to get all the information, but this is a really good start, and it's good that you have these resources. So I guess, when I think of SNAP, obviously food is the primary concern here. So, we have people from all over the country that are part of our community, but we are based in New York, you're based in New York. So what food resources are available? This is a question that a lot of people are asking. What food resources are available in New York City right now?
Yeah, so I totally recognize that the SNAP application process is a mess, especially now under COVID-19, where a lot of people are applying. So if you don't feel comfortable accessing SNAP for food stamps, there are certainly a good amount of other resources that are free or low cost that you can access. One of my favorite websites and resources is actually the Food Bank of New York City. On their website, they have a super interactive and comprehensive map with up-to-date information on food pantries that are open, soup kitchens, distribution centers, and locations for SNAP enrollment that are open. So not all SNAP locations are open. However, there are a handful if you do want to apply in person that you can go to. And the Food Bank of New York has been amazing in kind of compiling all of this into one centralized location. And I am a fan of interactive maps, so you can just quickly type in your zip code, your address, and it'll tell you all the places that you can go in your area. Some of them
Great.
surprisingly even in walking distance. Other resources for food are actually public schools. New Yorkers who want to get a free meal can go to over 400 different meal hubs across the city, and a lot of them are schools where you can actually go to get a free breakfast, free lunch, and free dinner for every member of your household every single day.
That's so great. Um, so obviously, that can be really, really helpful for people that have kids at home. And the next question that we have for you is, for those that do have kids at home, how do you keep them engaged and busy so that they're not losing their minds, and you're not losing your mind? And what childcare is available, if somebody returns to work? How can they access childcare?
Yeah, so both very, very good questions. I think the first step for making sure that you're staying sane at home, especially you're in like a very healthy mental health, is just like having honest conversations with them. I'm sure many kids out there are asking questions like, why can't I go to school? What's happening? And that can breed a lot of stress. So really just sitting your kid down and telling them that everything will be okay, and answering their questions to the best of your ability without overwhelming them. Obviously, a 7-year-old doesn't need to know all the details of everything that's happening, but just making sure that they understand that things eventually will be okay.
Mm.
For childcare, if you are an essential worker or someone that will be returning to work soon, there's an amazing organization called Workers Need Childcare, and they have been assisting countless individuals with accessing free or low cost childcare. So they do this amazing thing where they'll help you kind of compile all of your informal supports, like friends or whoever you trust as a childcare provider, and they streamline the process of trying to secure childcare. But now in the world of COVID, they are actually helping individuals with applying to essential worker childcare sites throughout the city. So making sure that people know where they can go to apply, actually helping them through the application process up until the point where you know where you can go, your kid is there, you feel secure and safe. They kind of handhold you throughout that entire process. So I would definitely,
Great.
Workers Need Childcare. If you are not yet at the process where you are looking for childcare or even going back to work, there are a good amount of resources, especially educational resources for homeschooling. I'm a big fan of the New York Department of Education. Their website, they have a lot of information, activities that you can do with your kid, and even technical tools for supporting parents with e-learning. So if you're having difficulty shooting technology, or if you don't know what Google Classroom is and it's giving you like a throbbing headache, rest assured that they have the tools and supports for that on their website. If you want to take a break from school and just have genuine fun with your kid, there's a website called KiwiCo, and they're an organization that's providing at-home resources for kids and parents to kind of do like DIY crafting and activities to pass the time. So those are some resources top of mind that I think people could enjoy.
Great. You said KiwiCo.
Mm-hmm.
How do you spell that? If I wanted to find out where their website is, how would you spell that?
It's KIWICO.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Um,
And she
uh,
actually living on our Hopper Kitchen website. So you can, if anyone has a question or is curious about these things, it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all the
cool.
reasons I'm talking about.
Okay, so if you don't have kids and or I guess if you do, but not everybody that has, not everybody that's feeling sort of anxiety or pressure or whatever, having difficulty kind of staying calm at this time. Not all of that is due to having kids at the house. So for anybody, how can you stay kind of calm, or what sort of mental health resources have you been working with, or would you recommend?
Yeah, one mental health resource. Accessing mental health can be a very difficult, stressful, and scary process, honestly, and very vulnerable for people. And recognizing that New York City has a program that's called New York City Well, WELL, and they provide free confidential mental health counseling. So you can actually pick up the phone, you can text them, you can go on their website and chat with a counselor 24/7, 365. And really, if you're having a bad day, you can call them and someone will always answer and you can talk to someone and get that support. The reason I love them is because they also provide these services in over 200 different languages.
Wow.
Hard to come by. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
You feel like maybe one-off counseling or calling them isn't enough and you'd like something more consistent or weekly, they can also assist you with referrals. So you can say, hi, my name is Michelle. I'm having a really difficult time. I'd like to know where I can go for counseling. They'll take your health insurance information. If you don't have health insurance, they'll help you through that. And they'll email you a list of different places near your home where you can actually take the next step in accessing mental health supports.
That's great.
Yeah, it's super cool. Their website also has a fabulous list of other apps and resources that you can use if you don't want to call them or take the step of actively meeting with a therapist every week. Things like Headspace, which is a really helpful app for meditation and mindfulness. That all lives on their website.
Cool. So Headspace, those of you that are on Instagram probably have seen an ad for this, or if you used to ride the subway or still ride the subway, you've probably seen an ad for this. The other one you said was NYC Well,
Yeah.
WELL. Okay, great. If somebody wants to participate or get involved in the Black Lives Matter movement,
Mm-hmm.
what resources or how can they access resources or donate or otherwise participate in the Black Lives Matter movement?
That's a great question. I think very, very important given the current state of our country and how how much pain people are really feeling. Um, when it comes to becoming engaged in the Black Lives Matter movement, I think it falls on the continuum, on anti-racist continuum. There are people who police brutality is a brand new concept to them, and that's fine, but they're willing and active to take that first step in understanding better the lived experience of Black people and people of color. And if that's where you're at, then I encourage you to read books, watch documentaries, get on Netflix and watch 13th, pick up Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, and start to just become well-versed in the history of these people. If you are someone who's gung-ho and understands and is willing to get out there and protest or do your part and use your voice for good, then there are places that you can donate for those protesters who have been arrested. Places like the Bail Project, the Brooklyn Bail Fund, you can donate to. Other amazing organizations that are doing nationwide work consist of the NAACP, as well as the Black Visions Collective. If you're actually out there protesting and you do get arrested, there's an amazing resource call or phone number that you can call. That's 1-833-3-GOOD-CALL, and they will connect you with a bail fund or even legal services to try to get you out of there as soon as possible. Yeah, so I think really it's about analyzing where you are in your anti-racist work and owning that and understanding that there's a whole world of resources out there and things that you can read and people that you can talk to really make that next step in achieving social justice. And
Yeah.
it's a complicated process. It's going to take time. Also understanding that self-care is super important when it comes to doing this work. It can be very emotionally charged and very emotionally draining. And there's a lot of trauma and grief that comes out of racism.
Yeah. I it's difficult for me to talk about this as a cisgender white man, but I certainly have had my own journey understanding racism, understanding what it really is and what it really means. And I personally, I have actually found it really helpful, in addition to all the resources you described, to just, it's a very passive activity, but it can be really helpful, but listen. And one of the ways that is so easy for us to do today is follow Black creators and Black thinkers and Black subject matter experts, and just listen, just the same way that our, your feed might be, in my LGBTQ community, everybody talks about housewives and drag race and whatnot. Like, there are other conversations that are happening out there, and you just have to join them, and just listen. And so I know that you guys have a collection of the Anti-Racist Project. Did you call that out? Did I miss that?
Sorry, that I didn't specifically mention that, but Anti-Racist Project is also a very, very good start. They have, for those individuals who are just starting to enter this work, they have a great collection, like I said, of books and movies and podcasts that you can listen to start that anti-racist journey.
Awesome. Yeah, which everybody should, if you're not already there, that's okay. Everybody has, their own timelines and whatnot, but this is definitely, if there were ever a time to start that journey, now is certainly the time. So it doesn't look like we had any additional questions come through. That was unbelievably helpful, and I'm glad that that we had the chance to talk through these things. So do you want to, maybe we'll pass this over to Katie now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Katie, who is an in-house now expert on everything unemployment, will be joining, and she'll take it from here. Thank you so much, Dana. This was really fun.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you. And Katie will also, I think I saw a question about where these resources were posted. I think Katie might be posting them. If not, then I'm sure we will post them somewhere or share them with you guys to post. So thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
You too. Thanks. So yeah, RWCF has, if you go to the link in our bio, there's some social action things that you can click on. Our website has a lot of resources, and Hot Bread Kitchen has tons of resources as well. So we'll make sure that these items that we're talking about, or sources of information, are available to you. And we, just while we're waiting for Katie to join us, the donations here, this is a fundraiser, and we do have some donations coming in, which is really exciting. So thank you so much for supporting our work and the work of our partners. And again, if you have any questions that we're not asking, please use the QA box. There's a, oh, well, hi.
Hi.
There, my finger doesn't reach now that you're here, but underneath Katie is a little question mark. You can click that button and ask questions. And of course, if there are people, right now we're going to be transitioning into unemployment questions specifically. So if there are people that you know that might be interested in this, now would be a good time to share this live with them, bring them into the conversation. So hi.
Hi, Dana.
Hey, thanks for joining us. And why don't we just dive right in? And do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your work?
Sure. So my name's Katie Peabody. I work with the employers across New York who hire the talented women who graduate from our culinary training program. And I also work to advocate for better jobs in the food industry. We know that hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers in the hospitality space alone have lost their job as a result of COVID. Many women who graduated from our program have lost their jobs because of COVID. So our team, and I especially, as Michelle mentioned, have been spending a lot of time over the last couple of months working to understand the unemployment process, which I know has been really difficult for many, many people, and to understand this process in light of the new policies that were enacted to provide benefits for folks impacted by the coronavirus. I'm sure that there might be some people joining right now who have lost work due to COVID. I hope that many of you have already received benefits. And I'm here to answer some questions about unemployment that we've been receiving a lot from our members over the last couple of months, and also to chat a little bit about some questions that we're starting to hear more and that I anticipate we might hear even more so in the next couple months or so.
Great. So you nailed it. And I think everybody that has engaged in the unemployment conversation, whether you're applying for benefits or you're an employer, like it is so confusing. So let's just start with some basics. What is the difference between unemployment insurance and this new thing called pandemic unemployment insurance? Because they're related, but they're not the same thing. So what is the difference between unemployment and the pandemic unemployment assistance, or PUA?
Super simple, you nailed it. So unemployment insurance, which I'm going to describe as traditional unemployment insurance for the purposes of this conversation, and pandemic unemployment assistance, which is PUA, are both programs that provide money to people who are unable to work. They are both managed by the New York Department of Labor, and they both live under the broad umbrella of unemployment insurance, which I think is where some of the confusion comes in. So both traditional unemployment insurance and pandemic unemployment assistance, PUA, are unemployment insurance. They provide money to people who cannot work. If you qualify for traditional UI or PUA, you can receive up to 39 weeks of unemployment benefits. So just speaking about traditional unemployment insurance, UI is the normal program that has been in place for years and years and years by the DOL to provide unemployment benefits, to provide money for people who have lost their job through no fault of their own. So typically, in order to qualify for UI, a person needs to have worked for a minimum amount of time, which usually looks like around 3/4 of a year, and to have received a minimum amount of wages during that time. So for example, you, Dana, worked for a restaurant for 10 months and then you lost your job for any reason, then you should qualify for unemployment insurance. If you lost your job because of the pandemic, you will qualify for unemployment insurance. So that's traditional UI. Pandemic unemployment assistance, PUA, is the policy that was passed as a result of the pandemic that expands a lot of the reasons that somebody might qualify for unemployment benefits. Okay. So PUA, and truly just stop me if anything I'm saying feels very confusing, because I know that this is ultimately confusing, which is why so many people have had such a hard time. But PUA is for folks who don't qualify for traditional unemployment insurance, but are unable to work for coronavirus-specific reasons. Okay.
Got it.
There are no time or wage minimums to qualify for PUA. So unlike unemployment insurance, Dana, you might have been hired by a restaurant and on your first day of work, the pandemic hit and you lost your job due to COVID, you qualify for PUA. There is a lot more information about this on the DOL website and the Department of Labor website. There's also information about this on Hotbread Kitchen's website at hotbreadkitchen.org/COVID-19. I'll be saying that a lot because we've created a lot of different guides on our site to help people navigate this. But does that all kind of make as much sense as it can?
Yeah, I think so. I think without getting into like the specific eligibility requirements, like that's definitely a good, I mean, I certainly understand what you've said. And I pinned, Margot from Hotbread Kitchen shared the resource page, hotbreadkitchen.org/COVID-19. And I pinned that comment in our comments. So you can repeat the website, but you don't have to. I've pinned it for you. So, okay. Now that unemployment insurance and PUA have been explained, who, in a little bit more detail, who is eligible and how do I apply for these programs?
Sure. So again, let's just talk about PUA quickly. Okay. PUA is for people who don't qualify for traditional unemployment benefits, but are unable to work for reasons specific to COVID. So when I say unable, I mean they lost their job due to coronavirus, they're unable to get to their job because of coronavirus, or in some cases are working reduced hours due to COVID. So, and there are many reasons that are covered by this act, but I'll just give you a couple of examples. One of them I think is one that a lot of people in your world have been encountering. Their restaurant, their employer's business was closed due to the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So if you lost your job due to COVID, you qualify for PUA. If you yourself were diagnosed with COVID or have a family member who you live with or you're caring for who is diagnosed with COVID and you therefore cannot get to your job, then you should qualify for PUA. This entire list, again, lives on the DOL website. It lives on Hotbread Kitchen's website at hotbreadkitchen.org/COVID-19. And I can also answer questions about any other specific reasons. I did want to speak to a question about whether these insurances are open to individuals with immigration status. And so insurance broadly, unemployment insurance is open to anybody with work authorization. So the only situation, unfortunately, in which somebody may not qualify for PUA or UI is if they do not have work authorization. So back to your question about how somebody can apply for these things.
Right.
Fortunately, the DOL has been doing a lot of work to improve and streamline this process over the last couple of months. There is not here we are. Things are getting better. So there aren't two separate processes for applying for unemployment insurance or PUA. You go to the Department of Labor website, create an account, create a login, and apply for unemployment. The system will guide you to the program that you might qualify for. We've also created a step-by-step video guide to take people through how to do this on our website, in addition to just actual guides and text that will take you through this. So hopefully one of those might be beneficial to folks.
Cool. I love a video instruction. So, okay, I mean, in my network, I know a fair number of people that have applied for unemployment, and then once you apply, sometimes you don't hear back, and there's not really anyone to call about your case, and they hang up on you or whatever. You know, I'm sure that the people who are watching this now or later, if you aren't this person, you probably know somebody. So I've applied for unemployment. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen, my bank account is empty. I haven't gotten a card in the mail. What do I do?
Yes, you are 1,000% right. I know that a lot of people have encountered so many challenges navigating this really difficult system, which is terrible. And we honestly are also seeing that some of our members who lost their job at the end of March and applied immediately have not received any money yet. So even though I know the DOL is working hard to make improvements, there are so many people I know who are still stuck in this limbo and are understandably very frustrated about what to do. So I'll share with you what we know and what we suggest. The first thing I'll say is just check everything, check every avenue that somebody might be using to communicate with you. Check your physical mailbox, check your email, which includes your spam mailbox and your junk mail. Log into your DOL account, and there's a section there where you can check messages. So check that section as often as you can. Look out for text messages, look out for phone calls. I know this sounds crazy, but my understanding from the DOL is that they are using almost all of these different avenues to communicate with people, which is also very confusing and frustrating, but it is true. The other thing I'll say is that I don't know how much this is happening anymore, but some people are getting phone calls from the DOL and it might say private caller. And so I want to urge people to look out for those phone calls as well. My understanding is that nobody will reach out to you from the DOL unless you are missing information or need additional documentation. So if you have not yet heard anything, your application is still pending. Check all of those avenues for communication for any any requests for additional documentation or outstanding information. But if you're not hearing anything per the DOL, they should have everything that they need and they're working to process your application. I also know that the DOL is starting to send some paperwork through email via something called DocuSign. So you may also receive an email with DocuSign in the subject line. So that's one piece. You can, of course, try to call. I think we're finding that a lot of, I mean, it's sort of even not worth mentioning that in many ways, because I know that some people are having trouble getting through in that way. I will add that as a point of last resort, one thing that we're hearing, including from the DOL, is that if you are having difficulty getting through, getting more information, continue to be in limbo for weeks at a time, contact your city council member. So look up your city council member based on where you live, write them a note. If you actually look on a city council member's website, they usually will have some sort of template for a request for information, asking for exactly what they need. Contact your state senators, contact Senator Gillibrand, contact Senator Schumer. What we're hearing is that when people are reaching out to their representatives, they are seeing some movement. So I would definitely suggest that if you have heard nothing, you've seen nothing, and it's been a few weeks, contact your representatives.
That's great advice, especially in voting season, because it could inform your vote. If you're not registered, go vote, because this is the year.
This is the time.
This is the time. Okay, so something that came to mind, we talked about unemployment insurance, we talked about PUA, but then there's this other thing, I think it's another thing, that's a $600 supplement from the federal government. Mm-hmm. So how does that play in with these the unemployment, the pandemic unemployment, and this federal supplement?
Exactly, not confusing at all. So another acronym for us to talk about. Right. So going back, unemployment insurance and PUA, both unemployment insurance, those are the weekly payments that you get from the government, get from the state for the weeks that you're unemployed for up to 39 weeks. So that's one payment if you are getting unemployment insurance that you should be seeing on a weekly basis. The $600 supplement that you're asking about is something called the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation, or FPUC. That's the fun acronym here. The reason I'm mentioning the acronym is because some people might see this on their bank statement as PUC, which is obviously very confusing because there's PUA. So FPUC and PUC are the acronyms for this $600 supplement. The $600 supplement is part of the CARES Act. So the federal government passed the CARES Act, and a component of that was this supplement, which is designed to supplement the unemployment insurance that people are already receiving to help them manage financially during this time. What this means is that if you are receiving unemployment insurance or pandemic unemployment assistance, you will automatically be receiving an additional $600 every week from the government. So you don't need to do anything to get the additional $600. If you're getting unemployment, you should see 2 payments every week, either directly to your bank account, or if you get a debit card in the mail, which some people do, you should see 2 separate deposits on that bank account. One amount will be the amount that you're getting from unemployment, and the other amount will be that $600 from the federal government, which is FPUC or PUC. Okay. One thing I just want to note, though, about that $600 supplement is that unlike unemployment insurance, that expires July 31st. So if you're unemployed, you lost your job in May, you've been receiving unemployment, you should be receiving your unemployment payments every week, the $600 supplement every week. But as of August 1st, you're not going to see the $600 anymore. You're just going to see one payment for your unemployment insurance, which essentially means that as of August 1st, if you're receiving unemployment, you might be getting $600 less every week. So that's just an important thing for people to keep in mind.
It's, I think, not an insignificant reduction. If a person is on unemployment in the first place, getting $600 a week less is certainly that's a thing to know about. So
It's very significant.
July 31st, you said that well runs dry.
Exactly. You know, I think that we can all be really hopeful that the government might extend that supplement, that they're going to pass an additional stimulus bill that will provide people with that supplement well beyond July 31st. But I think we also have good reason not to expect that that's going to be the case.
Right.
Right. So that's just something to keep in mind. Your unemployment insurance will not stop after July 31st. Again, if you're getting unemployment or PUA, you can qualify for up to 39 weeks, but that is a real consideration for a lot of people, and it's something that we've been thinking a lot about, especially for the women in our world who have lost their jobs and were receiving that money. You know, the supplement was really designed to help people replace their lost wages in full, and obviously when that goes away, unemployment does not cover lost wages. So
No.
especially for folks in this industry.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I've heard certainly stories. There's a really important action that a person that is receiving unemployment needs to take in order to get their benefits each week. So it's not just applying and then it magically every week you get your benefits. Each week you have to do something called certifying your weekly benefits, which basically tells the government, I'm still unemployed. And that I'm still eligible for these benefits. Is that a fair sort of way to describe it? Okay, so
that's exactly
how do you do that? How do you certify your weekly benefits?
Sure, it's pretty simple, honestly. You can log into your account on the DOL website, or you can actually call. There is a phone service that will work when you're certifying your benefits. It's an automated system, so you can call in as well. I always recommend that people try to do everything online where they can. The one thing that's really important to know about certifying benefits, which is exactly as you described it, it's you telling the government, I'm still unemployed, I can't work, please keep sending me money. Exactly, is that you need to start certifying the first week that you apply. So even if you haven't heard back that you're approved for your benefits, you should start certifying that week, because obviously after that first week, you're probably still unemployed. And the most important thing is that if you do not certify, you will not get your money. So from the first week that you apply for benefits, certify. Oh, also, we have a video on our website as well with a guide for this. So that's thanks to Wei, my colleague, for putting that together.
Go Wade. Okay, so this is a really big one that people there is a lot of confusion about. So let's say I'm currently receiving unemployment benefits. My former employer's business, like where I used to work, is now reopening, and they asked me to come back to work. What do I do? What are my options in that case?
Yes, so this is tough, and this is something that we're seeing happening more with members of our program. And the answer is it kind of depends, which I know is not always super helpful. But essentially, if you are receiving unemployment and you are unable to get to your job for reasons that are covered by the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Act. So, sorry, and by the way, I realize this is happening whether restaurants are starting to reopen or they got a PPP loan. So people are facing this situation in a number of different ways. But if your employer says, come back to work, or I want to pay you X amount of money, and you still have COVID, or if you're caring for somebody who has COVID, or even if you're the primary caregiver for a child right now whose school is closed because of COVID and you cannot get to work for those reasons covered by the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Act, you can invoke that and still receive unemployment. So if one of those qualifying reasons under PUA applies to you, you can invoke that to say, I'm sorry, I can't come into work. I can't take this payment from you. I need to keep receiving unemployment assistance because I qualify for this reason. So that is one option that is available to people. The challenging thing is that for people who do not qualify because of any of those reasons are in a tough spot. My understanding essentially is that if you choose not to return to work or to accept that money, then you will likely forfeit your unemployment benefits. So it's a bind, right? Go back to your job, accept those dollars because you do have the opportunity to work, or you might lose your benefits.
Yeah, it's not an easy decision to make because I think for those that aren't necessarily fluent in unemployment insurance, part of the conditions of the insurance being paid to you, or part of the qualification, is that you have not refused any work. And so
Exactly.
the bind is that the employer, if I'm correct, the employer is now offering you work, which by saying no, kind of refutes, that's the piece that disqualifies you. So I think what I heard from you is that if you do refuse work, that you should probably be pretty explicit as to why you're refusing work. And if it is for one of the reasons or for one of the qualifications of the pandemic unemployment assistance, that you're like explicit about that. You're saying, I can't come to work because I have to take care of my sick family member, or whatever appropriate reason is. So would you agree that you should definitely say why you're refusing the work?
That is 1,000% correct. Be explicit, have it in writing. Yes.
Okay.
And that's true if somebody's asking you to come back to work. That's true if you're employed and someone's asking you to come to work already, but you can't. So always have that in writing. And you're also correct about why you might lose your benefits if you're offered work. When you certify every week, they're basically asking you, are you able to work? Have you been offered work? And if you say, if the answer to is yes to those, then you are probably not able to keep your benefits.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a very sticky situation. And I know in the work that I do, I'm in conversations with employers, and this is really tough for employers because they recognize that by offering people, many employers understand that by offering work, they're putting employees, former or potential, in this situation. So it's definitely on both sides not an easy thing to navigate, for sure. So all right, well, we have a question that came in. I was just gonna say we have no questions, so let's see. Okay. I need to pick up the phone to see this because I'm too old. I can't read these little letters. What if you don't ever...
Man, I don't understand how technology works.
Okay, this is actually a really great question. So somebody asked, what if you go back to work and they close again? Would you have to start the unemployment insurance process all over again? And what if it's part-time due to COVID? So it looks like there's two questions here.
Sure.
There's, what if I go back to work, and if for whatever reason my employer closes again, do I have to start unemployment over? And then a second question as part of that is, what if the work is part-time due to COVID? So I guess that in that case, the person isn't getting the full hours that they would have. Yeah.
Sure.
Great question.
So very, very, very good questions. So the answer to your first question, if you go back to work and then lose your job again, do you need to reapply? Yes. I'm very sorry. And for so many reasons, I'm very sorry. But the answer is yes, you do need to reapply. And the second part of that question, what if you're working part-time? The answer there is kind of it depends. And that's because under PUA, a reduction of hours can be covered. So you could receive unemployment insurance partial UI benefits if you have reduced hours. So the advice I generally give people is apply. No matter what, apply, and see what happens. We've certainly seen people who have had reduced hours who have applied with that information and are reducing partial benefits. So you might apply, and I would encourage you to do so.
Okay, great. So, like I said before, and I can't point to it, so maybe, I don't know if you can see, but maybe you can point to it. There's a pinned comment from the folks at Hot Bread Kitchen. If you go to hotbreadkitchen.org/COVID-19, there's what's there. What can people find there?
Lots of different resources. So we have resources there for individuals, including guides around many of the benefits that Michelle was talking about. So information about accessing food assistance, cash assistance, food stamps, whatever, emotional support, all of those things. There are guides there for navigating unemployment. Those guides include video guides. There are also guides on that site for small business owners, which I know is not what we're speaking about here, but there are essentially a whole host of resources for individuals who might need support in lots of different ways during this time.
Great. Well, I don't think we have any questions left. So thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to read through Department of Labor documentation and
it's been a joy.
All of that. Yeah, I'm sure. Are there any other kind of final thoughts you want to share?
I just want to thank you, Dana, you personally, but also RWCF for having us as part of this conversation, but also for the way that you and your organization supports us. We really do appreciate everything that RWCF does for the restaurant and hospitality community, to support our work, of course, because you're such great supporters of us. And I want to say personally and on behalf of all of us at Hot Bread that it means so much to us, especially now, to be able to stand in solidarity with a group of people who are so committed to equity in this space and are really specifically so committed to uplifting workers during this really difficult time. I think Margot pinned everything about our information. Our Instagram is @HotBreadKitchen, so please keep in touch with us. And just thank you so much again.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a good rest of your day. And
you too.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Right.
Take care.
So for those of us that are hanging on here, we're just wrapping up. So I just want to first thank everybody for joining us. These talks do happen weekly. They're hosted here on our Instagram. And if you want to find out what the next talks are, you can go to restaurantworkerscf.org. Or you can use the link in our bio to access the events page and any other information. We also have a resource guide that's COVID specific for restaurant workers, and you can apply for funding if you're a restaurant worker. We also have an application in Spanish if that's helpful through our partners at Southern Smoke. And if you want to know the latest information about what's going on, you can sign up for our newsletters, get updates as they happen, and learn more. As I said at the top, we will be saving this to our Instagram Live so that if somebody you wanted to be here couldn't be, you can share it later or you can review back something that we talked about. For everybody that donated here in the live and anytime you may have donated, thank you so much. For supporting our organization, the work that we do, the organizations that we support, and all the restaurant workers that have benefited from the funding that we've been able to provide, upwards of $6 million in just months, which is really, really incredible. So yeah, thank you all for being here, and we'll see you. Our next event is on Monday, and so definitely go to the website, check it out. It's going to be a good one, and stay safe out there. And we'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.